Okay, we're looking at Hexasim's Austerlitz 1805, which is part of their Eagles of France series rules. Came out in December of 2016. And of course, it's all about the entire Battle of Austerlitz. The first title, I think it came out in 2015, was Waterloo. Now, I only own two of the Hexasim titles, Austerlitz and not Waterloo, but their strategic game, Napoleon Against Europe, which is a grand strategic game on the Napoleonic campaigns, 1805 to 1815. And I'd like to do a video of that also. It looks like a great game. Now, one thing about Hexasim is the components are absolutely outstanding, and we'll take a look at those first and tell you a little bit about this great game. Okay, the rule book. Well, it's 24 pages long, the series rules, and it is superbly illustrated. Lots of great illustrations in full color. It's the shiny paper, good quality. I had no problems with the rules in reading them, although I always make copies, so I always print out a copy and then I can highlight and yellow in as I desire. You don't have to do that, of course. And you do get the exclusive book, which tells you about the setup of the Battle of Austerlitz. There are various scenarios, and Hexasim has done something that I haven't seen any other company do. Now, I've set up the whole campaign game here, and I'm going to show you the whole board in a few minutes. But on the back of some of these map sheets are zoomed in areas to play particular scenarios. So you do not have to set up the whole game to play these scenarios. And the game takes up quite a bit of room. I put the extension on my table here to get all the components in. But I'll be showing you those in a minute. Let's take a closer look at some of the game components. Now there's your turn record track. Each turn is 1 hour long, not 20 minutes. Now at this point we might as well bring up the point about the La Bataille de Moscova series. I also have that game, which has had a heck of a history itself. It came out in 1975. It's been reprinted many times. And it's probably inevitable that some people will want to know the difference between the La Bataille de Moscova system and this system. Well, they are significant. Both of them have regimental and battery, battalion counters, but each turn in La Bataille de la Moscova represents about 20 minutes, and in this game 1 hour. So they're significantly different. And you could do a whole video just on comparing the two, something I'd like to do in the near future. But let's try to stick to the subject. We'll try to just show Austerlitz 1805. There's your unit identification chart, again superbly illustrated, telling you what each kind of unit is. Batteries, light cavalry, heavy cavalry, infantry, and of course the different nationalities. Your fire tables, everything is mounted on good quality cardboard. Fire tables, random special events, and melee tables. All very well done. Very nicely done setup cards with the red dots to show you various towns and stuff like that. And there are more than one fire table too, so if you have a companion, you can each have your own set of charts. This is actually the setup card here with the cores in yellow where they set up. You get some nice cards, not too many, a set for each side to allow historical what-ifs into the scenario if you want to when you play the whole campaign game. Now I'll zoom in on the counters and the setup cards and we'll see what they're all about. Okay, you get two setup cards for the Army of the Coalition. That's the Austrians and the Russians. There's card number 1, card number 2. And I haven't spread out the units on the card itself, but you can see it's a very comprehensive and detailed order of battle. Again, down to the regimental battalion level. There's the French order of battle on 2 cards. Try to get close to the counters here. Outstanding quality on the counters. Let's see if we can get this focused. Yeah, that's a bit better focused. You can see the counters are rounded, and in the copy I got, the counters literally kind of just fell out of the tree. They're The die cutting is superior on these. They're just terrific. Color band information to indicate what core they're in. Everything is just crystal clear. They are double-sided to show you step reduction, things like that, once you get involved in the battle. And just these are some of the nicest counters I've ever seen in a war game. Well done, Hexasim. Okay, now the map is big. As I mentioned it, I had to put the extension on my table to get the setup cards in. And the map is 2 map sheets, and they overlap beautifully. Again, another little feature I like. I don't have that ugly crack that you see on many, many games. These, by the way, there's plastics on top of these. That's why you see this line. And it shows the Battle of Austerlitz as it was in 1805 in the wintertime. It was fought in the first opening days of December 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, I think it was. And my little mini criticism is I wish it was a little bit more white. I think there was snow on the ground at the time of Austerlitz, and I would have liked a little bit lighter map, but it is a very nice map. As you can see, the dark areas where the streams are, lighter areas where the hills are. Now we'll zoom in on a couple of areas that people are probably familiar with. There's the Pratzen Heights, town of Pratzen. And there's the Pratzen Heights themselves. Austerlitz and the associated castles. And this is the French right flank, of course, where Davout comes in. The Emperor himself is up here on these heights. And there's the famous Santon Hill with its batteries and stuff like that. It's a very nice map. Now, the setup is one of the features I just love about this game compared to La Bataille de la Moscova. Now let me just lock the camera a bit and then I'll tell you about that. Now one of the chores that I just like intensely in any new battle game is setting up every single individual battalion and battery on the board. I mean, for a battle like this or La Bataille de la Moscova, you can spend an hour and a half, 2 hours just setting the darn thing up. I mean, every regiment, every battalion, every leader, so on. Hexasim decided to go a different way, and I love the fact that they did do it that way. You do not set up every single piece on the board. What you do is each corps has got several of these little wee dummy counters that have generic flags on them. And the flip side will either say it's a dummy or the actual unit. So in the initial phases of the battle, you might remember that Austerlitz was a fog-bound day, the morning of the battle. Visibility was almost nil. So in the opening stages of the battle, you're going to move these real and dummy units in the battle, move them towards the French line. And when they are in a certain sighting distance away, I believe it's about 4 hexes, the unit will be revealed is either a dummy or a real unit. And if it is a real unit, then you will go to the setup card and set up this myriad of battalions and stuff on the board. It's a nice way of easing you into the battle and keeping the fog of war in the game. Which, for a game like Austerlitz, you do need fog of war. With the knowledge we have of the battle now, it's going to be very hard to recreate the original battle with what we know of the battle. So I think the fog of war aspect of this game is really what makes this game shine. Okay, this is a close-up view of what the dummy counters and the actual counter would look like in practice on the game. For example, this 6th Russian column might deploy this way, and in the game this unit itself would move in its appropriate phase, and if revealed at an appropriate time, let's say for the sake of argument this unit had been revealed. He'd flip it over, and sure enough it's a dummy, off it would come. Later on, let's say this unit had been revealed, flip it, lo and behold, it's a real unit, and it's Liechtenstein's division or column, and then Liechtenstein's column would set up, I believe, within 4 hexes of this, and you would proceed from there. So the player is spared the tedious setup that a lot of other games have. Now, some of the units, the French units in particular, do set up on the board, fully revealed. These are some regiments here in Austerlitz Castle, over here on the right at Telnitz, of course in the center at Kobelnitz, Puntwitz, and Gersatwitz, and up in the Santon Hill. So there is some limited intelligence and some revealed intelligence. And I've just shown a setup here, not the definitive setup. You're allowed a little bit of leeway in the setup. And like I said, zoom in on this. This is what your setup cards would look like. Okay. See what this broad area, we can set up the first column. This broad area, we can set up the second column, third column, so on. So the setup is kind of interesting. You're left some leeway there. Another thing I like about this game is the orders chart. It's not like some games where you move every regiment, every battalion, every counter, wherever you want. Real commanders just did not have that ability to coordinate those kind of things. And this game handles the orders pretty well. What you're going to do is you're going to give each of these columns for the Russians and each of these corps for the French orders. And you're going to place these orders on the little order chart here. And generally, you'll be saying to, let's say, the first corps, well, I want you to march to Kobelnitz and engage with the enemy. And with those general orders in mind, that column will march towards these areas. There's also strategic movement where units will move almost twice as fast in the rear areas when they're not in the proximity of the enemy. And these orders can be changed in the game by various mechanisms. I believe one is a die roll. And there could be a delay. So there is an order system built in. You can move the counters, very likely, but you can't micromanage every single regiment, battalion. I mean, you can in the sense that you're going to be moving it, but it's still got to operate under general orders which you've given to the corps, and that I like very much. Now, I've not played the game yet, so I can't really tell you much about the tactics. There are these strategic cards, which add some flavor to the game when you are playing the whole campaign game. Each side gets their own little set, and they're well done. They're detailed, got lots of information on them. I think it would add some flavor. So I don't think this game is going to get stale. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it if you play the whole game. Okay, another big question is, how long does it take to play this thing if you play the whole thing? I don't have the exact figures on it. I don't remember if the booklet actually states how long the campaign game takes to play. Let me just take a quick look here and see what it says. No, I don't see a running time for the whole campaign game. Now, some of the small scenarios I think can take a few hours. I'm going to guess that playing the full battle is going to take at least 8 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours. So it could be done in one long day, and if you recorded the positions, maybe you could play it over 2 weekends. I'm not sure. Certainly, it will take less time than playing a large La Bataille de la Moscova type game, because of the hourly turns alone, not 20-minute turns. So I think Hexasim has done a really nice job on this game. Also got very good reviews on their Waterloo game. And I believe a third one is in the works now. I'm not sure which title that's going to be. Well, that's all I'm going to say about Austerlitz 1805 from Hexasim. It's a really good quality looking game. I suspect it'll play very well. I've only pushed a few counters, rolled a few dice, so I really can't comment on how accurate it is. My sense is, if someone's put this much work into it, it is the second title in the series. They've made some tweaks from Waterloo. I suspect it's pretty darn good. Now, I watched the messages on Consim when it came out. there was at least one fellow who did not like the combat model, criticizing it severely, and he seemed to be in the minority. Most of the people sort of went the other way, saying, no, the combat model seems quite fine. I suspect it's probably okay too. Anyway, you'd have to play it to make your own decision and see if it jives with what you've read. And I can only make a decision on play after I play it, so that's all I can really say about it. So Hexasim, well done, guys. You've produced a very, very fine game, and personally, the game that I would like to see them done is the Battle of Eylau, so I would buy that in a moment. So that's it for Austerlitz 1805 from Hexasim. Thank you for watching.